G'day guys, and welcome back to Springwood. Last episode I began work on Tivoli Beach, which is this amusement park that we are building over the next few episodes, and in this episode I'm going to continue work on that, building on the other side of this road and building some really unique amusement park rides that I think turned out really awesome, and I'm so excited to show you what I got up to, so I better jump into the time lapse to get the ball rolling. So if you didn't see the last episode, go and check it out maybe before seeing this one, because I kind of go through a couple of things, a bit of the idea behind this amusement park and the why I'm sort of building it to look kind of a little bit crappy, a bit under-maintained, and to fit a particular style. And also you might also notice that I'm using a lot of the assets that come with the new Park Life DLC. Not exclusively though, I am also using quite a lot of assets from the workshop, so if you are interested in any of these, you can check out my Springwood mods and assets list, which is in the description, or feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. And this amusement park, well, yeah, it is kind of a bit dodgy looking. I'm building it in that style because I'm taking tons of inspiration from Coney Island in Brooklyn. I love this amusement park so much. I find it really fascinating. I find the history of it fascinating, and at the moment a lot of the story behind this amusement park in Springwood is being developed on the wiki page. So if you want to go and check it out, there's a bit of a backstory behind there already, which is really awesome. Lots of custom signs jumping on there, and images and history and timelines. And it is already so fascinating, and we're only just jumping into Tivoli Beach. And if you are interested in adding your own details to it, your own history and images, then go and jump on the Discord and have a little chats to the people who are working on the wiki page at the moment. I highly suggest you do that. It's a lot of fun, and lots of really cool and amazing stories that have been created on it. And in this episode, we add quite a lot more to the theme park, and it's probably one of my favorite builds. Oh man, I do say that so often, but making these custom rides was a lot of fun, and some really great suggestions from you guys in the last video, so I took a whole bunch of that on board, and I decided to build some sort of like custom Flume rides, and I wanted the Flume rides to be really old looking, like super gnarly. I didn't want there to be too much theming around it. In fact, I wanted it to be like the complete opposite to theming. I wanted it to have just this, pretty much this solid drop that goes down, but all around it be pretty much, just nothing going on. So, no trees or, interesting things to look at, no scenery, just purely this ugly drop. And I have a feeling that this ride was probably made, when the theme park first opened. And it's probably one of those heritage listed buildings or structures that they can't knock down because it's heritage, but, it's an absolute eyesore. And probably gets 0 rides on it because it's got nothing going for it. And there's heaps of rides like this at the Coney Island amusement park that I can notice that there's quite a lot of rides that just purely there because they've been there for ages and ages. And when I went there, actually, I noticed this as well. I actually jumped on this roller coaster. I can't remember the name of it. It might have been called Cyclone or something like that. And it was this rickety old terrible ride, but it was just awesome because it just has so much history to it that like you ride it, and there's something special about riding something that's got so much history, and I feel like this is probably something like that. So that was sort of my ideas behind it, but please feel free to edit any of those ideas in the wiki, because I think like all these rides probably need some sort of story behind them, and I already noticed that a lot of people are starting to add their own designs on the own graphic designs for the amusement park and for buildings and all sorts of things as well, which is pretty cool. And of course this ride is not functional, it's purely just for show. Actually, a lot of the things that I placed down in this episode are purely for show. That ride, that flat ride that I added first up, that was a ride that I built when I first built this amusement park, and I wanted to keep it sort of the way it was, but I wanted to just update it a little bit, so I just changed a couple of things, and you will see me work on it a little bit more down the track in this episode. I don't know, I really like it. I didn't really want to get rid of it because I like the idea that there are custom rides as well as functional rides that are actually visited by the Sims in the game. But yeah, like I said, I'm not doing much in terms of scenery for this one. I'm just putting on this like concrete slab and having a pool that sits underneath it. This pool is like the only decoration there is for it. I don't think there'd be any jets that shoot up when people kind of go down that ride. I think it's purely just this probably like a moldy pool that just sits underneath. And I'm taking some ideas from a particular ride, a particular Flume ride at Coney Island. Just something that kind of gave me the idea behind it, and this sort of kick-started my building for this one, and thought like that would be kind of an easy one to pull off. So the actual ride itself is made using a footpath. I think it was a footpath that I got from the workshop. I can't remember exactly the name of it. And it does this really cool thing when you raise it, it puts this canopy over the top of it, and I thought that would make kind of like a nice canopy for the drop and for you know, the raised parts of it, just for a bit of safety. And to get the water effect, I placed down a few decals just to create a bit of a watery scene, but it's not perfect. It's definitely, like, from certain angles it does not look very good, but from other angles it looks exactly how it's meant to look. And for the entrance, I'm just using a whole bunch of random assets. Like, I think these staircases are I think they're from an airport pack or something. And then we have a marketplace awning, and this railing is from, I think this one actually might be vanilla, but just a real mixed bag of different assets that I'm using. But put them all together, they make like a pretty cool looking entrance. Though the entrance, of course, no theming. There's like no name of the ride above. It's just like this dodgy looking thing. But I think it looks pretty damn good. Like, that's exactly what I was kind of going for. I think actually this side of the theme park has the more rundown side of things. I'll be working on like a go-kart area shortly, and I use like quite a few different techniques to make it look really rundown as well. And also this roller coaster that's going to sit on the beachfront, again, doesn't work. It's purely just for looks, but you know, just sort of added a couple of my own little custom bits and pieces just to make it a little bit more unique looking. And thanks for everyone who's been sending me pictures of their amusement parks. It's really, really cool to see. If you're interested, if you want to follow me and get a couple more updates, then go and check me out on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there, usually posting extra pics, or people are using tweeting at me and asking questions. So that's a great place to start. My Instagram account is practically dead. I would love to upload more photos. The only problem with that is I have to upload them to like a Google Drive, and then like the photos that is, and then download them onto my phone, and then upload them to Instagram. It's just a pain in the ass. Whereas Twitter, I can just do it straight from my computer. So, though I do tend to do stories when I'm doing some sort of drone fly or on location at some city or something like that. So, you know, maybe that's a good reason why you should follow me on Instagram. But Twitter's a good place. Definitely go and check me out on there. And the Discord's also a great place if you want to, you know, join into some competitions. There's a park competition going on at the moment where one of your parks can be featured in one of my episodes. So that'd be really, really cool to get involved in. And yeah, some great people to meet on the Discord as well. Always really, really cool to see lots of people getting involved, which is great. On screen, I am just detailing this a little bit more. It's kind of got a bit of a steampunk look. Not on purpose. The steampunk look is sort of like all functional, like all these pipes are functional for this ride to work, and there's some pumping stations. Again, I think there might be some airport assets, and the trees that I'm plopping down are just super basic, just putting down a couple of different planters just to change up that concrete look just a little bit. I'm really conscious of how much concrete there is in Springwood. In fact, actually, talking back about the parks, but I do need more parks in Springwood. I just seem to go very building heavy and place down mostly buildings in concrete spaces, whereas I don't really have much room for parks. So I should probably spend an actual episode in the future and just redevelop, like almost redevelop neighborhoods to incorporate some sort of park, and probably even some more open spaces, because again, buildings, they're pretty much the main focus for Springwood at the moment. And in terms of this area, I'm going to be working on Palmdale in the next episode and figuring out a bit more of the theme around this area, because just get it a little bit more spruced up. I have unsubbed from a whole bunch of different assets, and I need to kind of like replace them with more modern stuff. So I'll be working on that in the next step. And also working a little bit more around the Santa Clara area that I started in the episodes before. And then I'll be moving on to a completely new place. So let me know if you've got some suggestions of areas you want me to redevelop or work on, or for future episodes, because I'm sort of tossing up between a couple of them, and if you mention a few of them, then I might be more inclined to do it. So definitely let me know if you're vibing in a certain area, and I will consider it for sure. But yeah, theme park. This turned out really great. I'm so happy with how everything worked out, and the assets that were introduced in the Park Life update made it so much more worthwhile to redevelop this area, because having an actual moving amusement park, and one that actually functions within the city, it's really fantastic. It's quite interesting to find out how many people actually jumped on board with that Park Life update. Do let me know if it's been something that you've been wanting, or something that you were looking forward to, or something that you just completely avoided. The only problem with new updates is that whenever they seem to update the game, it just drops a couple of frames per second, which is always a massive shame. I know it probably doesn't look like it because you're watching a time lapse right now, but the frame rate in Springwood is not great. It's pretty low. However, it actually doesn't bother me at all. I barely notice it, and I think that's probably what got me started making videos in the first place, because I wanted to see how my city functioned without this awful FPS that kind of destroyed it. So making these videos and speeding them up in the edits really brings your city to life, and I think that's what kind of like motivated me in the first place. And the really crazy thing is even in my other series where I have just a very small town, or even just a purely vanilla, like when I was building a purely vanilla based city, the FPS was not great anyway. So I think it's just like the way that this game handles, or the stress that this game puts on your computer, it just kills it. My computer's somewhat beefy. It's all the details of my computer's in the description if you want to check it out. But I don't think it really matters. I think no matter what sort of rig you have, they seem to sort of perform at the same sort of level. So don't let the silkiness of my FPS in this video fool you. It's not fantastic. But the great news is like my game didn't break from the Park Life update. I just avoided the game for about 4 or 5 days, and then when I rebooted it, I think there was one mod that didn't work, and that was it. So that leads me to my next point. You bloody modders are absolutely incredible. I don't know how you guys create and update your mods so brilliantly, but massive thanks to you guys. And also asset creators who develop awesome assets. This is one of them. This roller coaster is another awesome asset. This is actually somewhat of an old asset. It's been sitting in Springwood for probably about 1.5 years now. That's how long this has been placed down for. So this actual roller coaster is history. Like there's like an actual history element to this roller coaster, and it's in the exact same location. I left it here because I really love this spot. You know, if you from certain angles you can see the whole city skyline in the distance, and this roller coaster, and also in the when the sun's going down, it looks fantastic. And you probably noticed I did something pretty clever, and I placed down a vanilla sign on top of it. Pretty sure this is a European vanilla sign, and the sign says Yeti Express. And I thought, you know what? That's not a bad name for a roller coaster. I've ridden roller coasters that have the name Express in the title, and what the hell is Yeti? Well, I don't know. Well, it's now the name of the roller coaster. I thought that was pretty cool, and it sort of made me think that I could probably place down a couple more names over the top of these rides. I didn't. I didn't in this episode, but I might go back and do that and give them some names. Or if you are an asset editor and you want to jump on board and create some cool logo for it, go for it. That'd be awesome. Let's hope that happens. That'd be awesome. But what I'm doing now is I'm building a custom go-kart ride. Again, I didn't like, if I was going to make like an awesome go-kart ride, I would have made the track much longer. I would have made the turns a lot more awesome, and I would have placed a bit of scenery around it. But that's sort of not the idea behind this build. You know, this build is meant to be outdated, under-maintained. So this ride, again, is sort of crap. Like, there's nothing that special about it. There's not much room for the karts to go around. There's no theming to it. It's just there. It's placed on this concrete slab, and you know, you're kind of like ready to go. I got this idea again from Coney Island, and there's like a couple of different go-karts there, and you know, there's a really awesome looking one, and then there's this really kind of average looking one. So I went for the average one, which is, you know, kind of weird, but I think it fits a lot better for this. And I you know, use these concrete network walls to build a bit of a lip for the surface. So like I wanted it to be like a bit of a wall that sort of stopped the cars from going over the side of the railing. And also just placing down some of these tires. I could have placed these tires around the entire course, but like, have you seen the size of my city? If I did that with like everything, I would have hit the prop limit a long time ago. And yeah, a lot of people have been asking about my prop limit and why I haven't hit it yet. I think I'm just a little bit sparing on my props within this series, and I don't really go too crazy with them. Like, I know it might look like I do, but I don't really. I think I've probably got about 2,000 props to go until I hit the limit. And even if I do hit it, there's actually a bunch that I can delete. There's a huge amount on the airports that I used that I probably could get rid of now and just use some of the new network lines instead. There's a whole bunch of lights around the place that I can get rid of. There's a couple of places that I want to redevelop, and you know, the new assets, the new props that I can add there will be a lot more efficient, I think. So it's not something that I'm really worried about. I don't even really think about it when I build. I don't worry too much about it. I guess it's in the back of my mind a little bit, but I'm not afraid to hit it. Let's just put it that way. It's not something that I'm really worried about. So again, I am just sort of like doing some light detailing around here, but you know, just trying to make it look like the only sort of props that are around this area are purely for maintenance, and when there is like props around, they're kind of like to show that this place is kind of worn out a little bit. So lots of broken, lots of cracks around here, and you know, not much work has been put into, you know, maintaining the appeal of this park. And you know, I guess it would be nicer to see more people coming to this park. To be honest, that's because I didn't really leave this park to accumulate people. I kind of like built it and then just recorded some cinematics, and that was it. However, once I've been building in the next episode, and a lot of people have been visiting this park, and now like this park is booming. Like, there's a lot of people here. In fact, there's probably too many people in this park. So, you know, being a park that is sort of outdated and underfunded, I don't really want that many people kind of wandering around. So I might actually have to kind of delete a couple of event spawners and yeah, try and decrease the amount of people visiting. But even still, it's still cool to see people wandering around and interacting with the environment. And this last little bit I'm just filling in the gaps for this area. I kind of just wanted to place something random around here, but I found just the most incredible, perfect, absolutely perfect asset building to sit in this corner over here. And this is like the fun palace. We have this park called a Luna Park in Sydney. There's one in Melbourne as well, and this park has this really unusual building in the back of the theme park. And in this theme park, in this building I should say, there are these really old, outdated slides and arcade games and like a weird maze that you crawl through, and the whole area is just so unusual. So I kind of imagined that inside that area, inside that fun palace, there was, you know, kind of like crazy mirrors and stuff like that. But like, let me know, or like jump on the Discord and have a chat with some of the people writing the wiki, and maybe we can talk about what's actually inside the fun palace, and whether it's an arcade game or whether it's a maze or whether there's some slides in there. Please let me know. Either way, I feel like it fits in with the 80s vibes so nicely. It's probably predates the 80s. It's a pretty old looking building, and I love it. I think it's a great fit for this area. And just some other little bits and pieces around here, like these super retro seating and a couple of other rides that don't function, they're just sort of for show, and toilets and shops and seats and just anything else that I think that the park needs just to be sort of finished off. And speaking of finishing off, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching, guys. It was a fun one. If you want to jump on and support the channel, then you can leave some nice comments below. Rating up the video is also super helpful, and I've also got a Patreon if you want to jump on there and support me even further. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.